and Irish music. I'm not Irish at all. How's the energy in the room? Do you guys want to just get up for a few moments just to kind of stretch your legs and maybe do a bit of shaking? This is a great exercise from Qigong. You can also just tap everywhere, just like on your legs, on your arms, and say, woo! Okay, yeah. We're good to go now. I'm Natalya, and if you're here to learn about the best nomad destinations, top DN visas, then Google does a much better job at it than me. That's not what I'm here to talk about today, but instead there's a bunch of things happening in the world that creates challenges but also opportunities. And today we're going to talk about these trends. But very briefly, this is me 5 years ago. I spent a decade in London advising the C-suites of Fortune 500 companies on strategy and innovation. And it struck me how companies spend so much time and money on strategies, and people never do the same for their lives. And yet, life is your most precious enterprise. Then how come we don't treat it the same way? And so I decided to change that. In 2019, I quit my corporate job, become location-independent entrepreneur. I'm sure every one of you here in this room have a feed like this, with pictures from different countries eating different foods. And I've started Live Design Studio, Live Startup. A few years later, launched My Life Quest, which is AI-powered self-discovery game. And since then, I have been, instead of helping big and rich companies get bigger and richer, I was helping people to get more fulfilled. But let's take a step back. So explorers of all times didn't cross oceans just to sort of see what's out there, right? They reimagined what was possible. So the first wave of nomads already proven that it is possible to live outside of the social matrix, of the norm. But what happens next? Do we keep wondering, or do we start creating the new world in which we want to live in? So the future of nomadism is really, instead of escaping the old world, is how do you start shaping the new? Because people in this room, we are trailblazers, and it's truly, truly powerful. So today I'm going to talk about 4 trends, and hopefully you will walk away with some new ideas. And if you've already implemented some of those things, definitely come talk to me. I think it's very inspiring. The first and the favorite one of mine is 100-year life. So most of you in this room are going to live until 100 years of age. This is exciting, right? But it also brings a lot of challenges because life becomes structurally very different. How will you stay relevant in the workforce? How will you stay fulfilled throughout all of these years doing the same thing, if you're doing the same thing? What's going to happen to your relationships? In the old days, you get married at 20, you die at 30, 10 years, you can tolerate. If you get married at the age of 30 and die at 100, that raises a lot of questions. Would you structure your life differently? But these are all of the great questions, and obviously you need to think differently about your health and longevity and your finances and your retirement funds. But it brings an exciting opportunity. You can become everything you ever wanted to be. Isn't this great? And instead of living just one life, you can live a multi-staged life. Think of it like a computer game with different side quests. Maybe today you're a digital nomad, maybe in 5 years you will settle somewhere in rural Cambodia, open a burnout recovery center. Maybe in 10 years you go back to the bustling city and return to your corporate career. Who knows? This is very, very exciting. And this is my favorite example. You can reinvent yourself at any age into pretty much anything. Even if you decide to become a neurosurgeon, which is one of the hardest professions to get into, takes about 10 years to train for, at the age of 40, and you graduate at 50, you still have 30 years of time to practice as a neurosurgeon, right? So if you're thinking at your age of becoming something else, then absolutely should. This is what I'm doing already. So I have had multi-stage life. I've been a strategy consultant, deep tech grant writer, psychologist, tech founder. But doesn't stop here. I also have a portfolio career, which means I teach yoga on the side, and I'm an artist. Which brings me to the next trend. It's all exciting, we have so many options. However, there's so much choice. And that becomes a big problem. There's been a very famous study where they offered participants 24 types of jam, and only 3% could actually, in the supermarket, they had to taste it and see if they like it, and then if they like it, they bought it. Only 3% actually bought a jar of jam when they were offered 24 varieties. But when they were only offered 6, 10 times more people actually could buy the jam, right? There is another great example. It's called the Burden's donkey paradox. It's a philosophical concept. So if the donkey that is equally thirsty and hungry is presented with a bucket of water and a stack of hay simultaneously, guess what's gonna happen? The donkey is going to die of both thirst and hunger, unable to rationally choose what to begin with. And so that happens to the best of us. I'm sure as nomads we have so many choices to make all of the time. How often do we find ourselves stuck? It's really annoying. And so that's the advice I want to give you today. Get out of your head and into your life. Stop thinking, start doing. I keep telling all of my clients, you should start taking bias towards action approach. What does it mean? If you're thinking whether you want to live in the countryside, just book an Airbnb for a weekend, for a week, for a month, try it out, collect data. The startups out there would understand me this how to build, test, learn loop. Similar story, experimentation. Thinking about getting a puppy, not sure which breed, dog sit, dog walk, try out different breeds. Thinking about your business, stop trying to create a perfect website. Just go on Wix, give yourself 1 hour, create that landing page. You will figure out the details later. So try things out. Naturally, with all of this happening, burnout is a word many of in this room probably not just heard but also experienced. Unfortunately, nomads are particularly prone to burnout. So how do we deal with that? Somehow many of us here in this room, like me, escaped corporate to have a more balanced life, yet instead of enjoying the lifestyle that we thought we would, we end up being chained to our computers, only now without the team, but actually by ourselves. So the advice here is you don't have to be more or do more. Coming back to some of the Sam's wisdom in his talk, you can just be. What does it mean? Stop treating rest as waste. Start treating rest as fuel. When I work with clients and I have many clients who are going through burnout, I give them the exercise. Similarly to how you schedule your workouts, your work time, you schedule your time lying under a tree. I mean, no reading, no podcasts, no chatting to friends, just lying under a tree for half an hour. You can do that, right? Like you can have your own version of lying under a tree, but pretty much the trick here is you should do nothing. Secondly, have you ever seen this guy? Not this particular guy, but the kind of guy who sits on the beach with the laptop, the phone, the everything. And I mean, clearly this is a stage photo because he's smiling. Like I would doubt he would actually be smiling. Put your life on a full screen mode. Stop multitasking. This is a big problem. If you're with a friend having dinner, put your phone away, put your work away. Be present. If you're working, you're working. If you're on the beach, I think this kind of you know, the famous image of a digital nomad working on the beach. Like, how many of you are actually doing that? Okay, there's still some people. I'm impressed. I can barely do that. And finally, I want you to really try and redefine success. What does the success mean for you? This is a picture of me a few months ago. This summer, I took a few months to spend time with my 91-year-old grandma who can barely walk. And she's not in the happiest place right now. And this is the end of her life. And I spent a few months playing games with her, teaching her, you know, to do some like light yoga with the chair. And at some point she said to me, I feel very happy because of you. And for me, that was the ultimate definition of success. And it was much more, honestly, it was much more pleasant than, you know, all of the big successes in my finance and my business that I've achieved last year. Final trend, bigger than us. We all here found our freedom, but we're searching for meaning and for something bigger. We all want to do something impactful, to do something meaningful, and many of us are still looking for that purpose. Do you guys know this guy in the picture? Have you seen this pyramid before? So this is Abraham Maslow, a famous psychologist and the creator of the Maslow pyramid of needs. And Maslow today would be proud because we got to the top of the pyramid. Isn't that great? But what happens at this level is that we don't have any frameworks or tools for how do you actually realize your full potential. And there's interesting studies. So there are two types of well-being, and everybody talks about well-being in terms of the physical body, etc. And it's called actually hedonic well-being. So everything that's external, it's your hedonic well-being. However, there is also eudaimonic well-being. It's a very big, fancy word. Eudaimonic well-being stems from the feeling of you realizing your full potential. And the eudaimonic well-being is the foundation of your overall well-being. Have you ever found yourself in a state of flow? Yeah, so then you know what I'm talking about. Imagine if you could have the state of flow regularly. What would that do to your life? So how do we find purpose? How do we get into that state of flow? You have to stop searching for meaning, and you have to start creating it. How do you create your meaning? First of all, you have to know who you are. Who you really are. What do you really value? What matters to you? What you like? What you don't like? You start by paying attention to your energy. We talked about some of the experiments in the previous trend. This is a great way, right? So you have an idea, you have an inclination. Instead of staying stuck in your head, you go out there, you try things, you collect data, and you take a note of it. And slowly, slowly, you will get to a place where you'll have a clearer picture. And that's how I ended up in Da Nang. I have lived in so many countries, and I love Da Nang so very much. As you know, it's a fantastic city. Have you seen the logo of Da Nang? It's very cute. So life is indeed your creation. And when I quit my consulting job, if I went to search for a job that would satisfy all of my creative inclinations and all of my passions, there's no way I would ever be able to find a job that would tick all of the boxes. My love for art and design, my love for games, my love for personal development, for structure, for strategy, for storytelling. Instead of searching for that role, I actually went out and I did it myself. I started a company and I created a game that helps people figure out what to do with their lives. And there I combine my love for tech, obviously my love for games and design and working with illustrators and designers, and honestly it was so great. So So you should do absolutely the same. If you're thinking, hey, I'm looking for this opportunity, maybe start paying attention to your passions and think about a unique way of combining it, because nothing like this could ever be created by anybody else in this world, because this is a unique combination of my passions. And I really want to urge you, many of us are kind of hoping that there will be opportunities, that something will be offered to us, or, oh, wouldn't it be great if, this happened? I want you to take the lead, because you already are trailblazers here in the room. You are already living a life that is very different from many people's lives. And so keep doing that, keep taking more ownership and start leading the way. And really the best way to predict future is to create it. And so I urge you to tap into your full potential starting today and create a truly fulfilling, meaningful lives on your terms. And if you want to talk about your life design, anything else, say hi to me in any of these languages you can see on the screen. And I'm also looking for speakers for my podcast, Tribe of Trailblazers, which is about people who live life differently. So if you're one of them, definitely come say hello. And today I have presented only 4 trends. However, we have a full report with 7 trends and a lot more information, additional books and videos and presentations. And also we cover trends on relationships, on family, and there's a lot of really exciting things. On that note, thank you very much, and I think I have time for a couple of questions.
All right, let's give it up. If anyone has any questions, please raise your hand.
Hey there. First of all, thanks for the great speech. Really inspiring. I like the notion of both, like integrating all the interests, all the different interests. I think a lot of people can resonate here, not just doing one thing, but doing a lot all over the place. I also like the notion of you saying, okay, just try it out, just see if you like golden retrievers or living in the countryside. For me, I'm an event organizer myself for a community, and we're thinking a lot about strategy at the moment. And I feel like this trying out of things is really nice, and getting creative and staying in the process and figuring it out along the way. But I also realized, and I think for most of us, it's also maybe a bit about branding and marketing, especially when communicating such strategies, branding, etc. It can be quite confusing for a lot of clients or people if you have frequent changes in your communication. So how do you manage the degree of when to communicate something and when to change it, try it out in hidden chambers maybe?
Thank you. What's your name?
Curious about Timo.
Timo. That's more of a business question, but I'll take it because I'm also an entrepreneur. Okay. This is really the build, test, learn loops from the lean experimentation. Anybody who's interested, definitely read Lean Startup book. But pretty much you have to design controlled experiments. You cannot, you have to define hypotheses that you're testing. If you're testing different messages, you have to define a set period of time, let's say a week, a month, 2 weeks, and you have to define criteria. Is it the change in engagement, the impression rates, the click rates, whatever it is that's relevant for you. And you run it for 2 weeks, and you only change one thing at a time. You cannot change the visuals and the copy. It's pretty much called A/B testing. It's very, very basic concept in marketing. But yeah, you should define controlled experiments. Don't do it all at once and at the same. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Ish? But we can talk about it later.
Yeah. Let's do that.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Thank you. That was very interesting. I'm Kiki from Japan. So you said start creating, and I would like to know how you personally are. Maybe you're. So you told us that you have been professional in many different professions. And what are you creating for yourself now, and how are you doing it?
Thank you, Kiki, for a question. I do, well, first of all, podcast is the new thing that I've started a few weeks ago. It's just so much fun, and I'm doing it for fun, and it's just so great interviewing interesting people. And in terms of creating, you just have to, it's like exposing yourself, trying different things, and just like not letting go. Like my biggest advice for all of you here, just one thing if you want to take away from my presentation, just start doing, stop thinking. Right? Even if it's a bit shit, that's okay. Coming back to Sam's 80% point, honestly, yeah, it's better be done than perfect.
Is there any purpose that you started your podcast, like to aim?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's my podcast is called Tribe of Trailblazers. I find it incredibly inspiring meeting people like that and interviewing them and sharing the stories, because I still have people in my old network in London, in Amsterdam, who are miserable. And I really want to show them that it is possible. It is actually possible to be happy. It's not a myth. And there's so many different ways in doing life. I think it's so inspiring to hear how people do it. And honestly, it's not just about professions and careers and nomadism. It's also about how we do relationships, how we do families. There's so many different ways to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, I
All
think we
right,
have
thank
questions
you.
maybe for one last question. One last question. Anyone? No, well, then give it up for Natalya Permyakova.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Enjoy the rest of the summit.
All right, thank you so much. Well done.